Hello, and welcome to the hero's journey to publishing, from conception to print, working with a small press. I'm Katherine J. Parker, and I'll be your presenter today. I have a BFA in creative writing. I'm currently pursuing my graduate degree in public relations. I work as a social media manager and a marketing specialist, and I am currently an intern at Beating Windward Press. I do a lot of other things. I'm an editor. I write some fiction and some nonfiction, and I kind of just get my hands a little bit in everything. But I'm really interested right now in learning the ins and outs of the behind the scenes in publishing, really getting to understand how small presses work and what they do to get the books from point A to point B. Beating Windward Press is owned by Matt Peters. It's located in Altamont Springs, Florida. They publish what I like to call mainstream fringe. The core of the books typically are mainstream. They could fit in a particular genre, but there's always something a little bit off, something that gives them a little bit of extra color. Sometimes it's just something that makes them more diverse, or something that maybe makes them not quite so marketable to the larger audience. Um, but Matt is very concerned with quality. He likes to say that his books have a literary bent. They're all very intelligent, very well written books. Everything from horror to memoirs to a retelling of a Macbeth with cross dressers and a graphic novel, and even crafting the character arc. So there's a little bit of everything at Beating Windward Press. So, why are we here today? Well, I am here to talk about publishing using Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey template, just to give it a little bit of fun, a little bit of a twist. And hopefully, you're here because you're interested in finding out how the process works, publishing with a small press. Whether you're brand new to the idea of publishing a book or you're self published, whatever the case may be, this is going to be kind of a quick overview of what happens from the moment you get your idea to the moment the books hit print or ebook format. So I hope you enjoy. So we'll start off with our prologue, which begins with the conception of whatever story, whatever idea you have. Writers, their ordinary world is coming up with things to write. We've got great imaginations. We're always thinking about something. We're always got a new idea. So that's the first step, is getting that idea and picking that idea and sticking with it. And then we move on to the call to adventure, which is when we begin our manuscript. So we got to sit down, we got to put that idea into words on paper, and we've got to complete it. It's very difficult to pitch a small press without a complete manuscript, especially if it is fiction. If it's nonfiction, you have a little bit more wiggle room, but it's best to go in having your manuscript completed. And then you have the refusal of the call. We like to call this the doubts and discouragements. This is when you get frustrated, when you start to feel like maybe your book isn't good enough, or nobody's going to want to read it. Don't listen. Persevere. Get out there. Have your friends look at it. You set it aside it for a couple of weeks if you need to, but come back to it and begin editing, and remember why you love it, because it probably is awesome. It might need work, but it probably is pretty cool. So just get some input and get to work. Then you have meeting the mentor, which is why the refusal of the call is so important. Before you meet your mentor, and start pitching, you want to make sure that you have a polished manuscript. You want to have those major edits done. You want to know that your piece is as good as it can be at the moment. Because don't worry, we'll be doing more of that editing. But meeting the mentor is when you begin your research. So you finish the manuscript, you set it aside. Now you're looking at different presses that you would like to pitch. Make sure you know who you're pitching to. Make sure you're pitching to the right person. You want to look at what they've published before. You want to look at what they're interested in publishing. Usually they'll have, we like this or we don't like that. And you want to make sure that, they have the same kind of sensibilities as what you're publishing, what your work is. And you want to make sure you're not publishing a fantasy to someone who only publishes horror, or that you're pitching fiction to a nonfiction publisher. So just really get in there. Don't be afraid to take your time in looking. You want to be with the right person. Then you get to crossing the threshold. This is when you start to pitch and submit your manuscript. Again, this is, you want a polished manuscript. You want to have been through edits. You want to have, maybe shown it to a couple of people that you really trust, got their opinions, and maybe made some changes to it. Then you'll start pitching to the presses that you think would be interested. Make sure your pitch is as polished as your manuscript. It is very important. Then you get to the heart of the story. So you've pitched, somebody's interested. Now you get to, well, maybe somebody's interested. You're going to get rejections, okay? As a writer, that's just a part of life. No matter what you do, you're going to get some no's. You're going to get more no's than yeses. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. So be ready. Don't take it too harsh. It's not personal. Keep moving ahead. So that's going to kind of be your test, is to just keep going. Get your friends in on it. Talk to them about your book. Make sure, you can still be working on edits here, but you really just want to be pushing ahead, pulling the people that support you close, and talking to agents. Utilize agents. They're there to help you. Use their knowledge. Let them help you get your book to the right publisher or to the right editor, whatever the case may be at this point. Then you get the approach to the innermost cave. Now that's when you found somebody, they want your book, and you've got to deal with the contract. Make sure you're looking at your contract, looking at who has what rights for how long. Don't be in a rush. Yeah, you're probably excited, but like every cave, there are some dangers, so take your time. But once that's done, you get to move on to the ordeal, which we like to call editing again. This time you're going to be editing with the input of the publisher and the publisher's editor. They're going to look at your content and proofread and do all of that. So you'll be making some more changes. And then you'll be looking at your layout. Somebody will be doing the layout for your book, setting it up so that when it transfers from Word or whatever you wrote it in, it goes properly into the different layout softwares that you may be using, or programs. Then you get to go to cover design, which is one of my favorite parts. Seeing your book get that cover is always really fun. You may have a cover in mind when you start out. You probably won't end up with that cover. Be open to suggestion and change, because I've seen some concepts that were great to start with, but with the input of a graphic designer and the publisher and friends, I've seen them come to something that was completely different than what we started with, but was just perfect. So it's a lot of fun to watch the process and be involved in the process of creating a cover for a book. So once you've done all that, you've finished editing again and laying out and getting your cover all set up, then you get to your reward, your seizing of the sword. You have a proof in your hand, or, whether it's an ebook proof or a print proof or both. You have come through all of that hard work to get to see the first copy of your book, which is fantastic and exciting. But you're not done. You do need to go through that proof and make sure that there are no issues on the printer side, nothing that got funky when it got printed. Um, and check, proofread again, because this is going to be your last round. This is what's going to go out to everybody, all of your fans, all of your readers. So make sure there's nothing that you've missed, because you've got one more chance to fix it. And that is your road back. That's when you do your final changes. This is the last time you can change that book before it gets out there. So make sure you got it exactly how you want it. And then you get to your epilogue. This is where you get to the resurrection, which is the advanced reader copies and promotion. You want to get your advanced reader copies out there with time to get some reviews before you actually publish the book. Beating Windward tends to start sending out advanced reader copies 3 months before the publication date. You want to get it out there to writers that you are networked with. You also want to send it out to some other media outlets, newspapers, blogs. You can send out print copies, or you can send out ebook copies, however you want to do it. But give yourself some time to get some of those reviews, so that when it hits the market and people start going to Amazon, they've already got something to see, some kind of feedback to see, to know what they're getting into. And make sure that you're promoting. Do some advanced reader copy giveaways to your fans and readers. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of copies, just a few. Talk about your book and, the process, or, get everybody excited. Get them as excited as you are. You're almost there. You're almost ready to put it on the market. Just get everybody riled up, so that they're ready to buy when it hits. And then you have your return with the elixir. You have published your book. It is on the market. It is in print. It is in ebook format. You can get it on the Kindle. You can get it on the Nook, wherever you want to put it. It's there. People are reading it. You have come to the end. Well, of this journey anyway. But the end of one journey is only the beginning of another. We'll talk about what happens from here in another webinar in the future, but you will still have to promote your book and market. Some small presses help with that. Some don't. So that's another thing that you want to look into when you're picking what small press you want to work with. And of course, you may have more ideas for other books. So maybe it's time to start working on those. But whatever the case may be, you are not done. Writer's work is never done. So keep moving ahead and moving on to your next hero's journey. This webinar was supposed to be live, and it was live. We did do a live presentation, but it did not record properly. So this one is recorded without an audience. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at katjparker.com, or katjparker@gmail.com, or leave a comment on the Upper Shelf Media's blog on the news post that this will be posted in. But absolutely, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I will be more than happy to answer them. And if I don't have the answer, I will be more than happy to direct you in the right direction to get you those answers. For more information about Beating Windward Press, please visit beatingwindward.com or follow them on Facebook. And for more information about myself, you can go to uppershelfmedia.com, or you can visit my fiction writing site at katjparker.com. Thank you so much for coming out and viewing this webinar. If you were at the live one, especially super thank you. But if you're watching the recording, thank you for taking the time to sit here with me and talk about publishing. I hope to see you in future webinars. Have a wonderful day.